I'm going to demystify all of the biggest lies that parents and students have been told about school. This video is going to be incredible. Let's go. The first one is that grades equals intelligence. The top performers in school aren't always the smartest, they just know how to play the game. I had a parent come to me the other day and say it's really important that my child actually understands the maths as opposed to memorizing it, and that is so important. Okay, you have so many kids nowadays that memorize the content, and yeah, they do well in exams, they can do well in papers, but do they actually understand it? 1 or 2 months down the line, are they actually going to remember and be able to recall the information that they revised 3 months prior? No. Now, the students that actually understand the information, these students are going to be the ones that do better in the long term, because not only have they memorized the information, but they've also understood the logic and concepts behind it. That way, their foundational knowledge behind the concept and behind the subject actually grows. I teach students exactly how to learn and understand concepts in GCSE maths and not just memorize certain questions and certain techniques, because that's not how they're going to improve. They are going to be improved by actually understanding it, because when it comes down the line and they go to those 4 or 5 markers at the end of a GCSE maths paper and they have no clue where to go, if they understand their fundamental core knowledge of maths, they will find a way to get 1, 2, 3, or even the full mark, or all 5 marks. But if they've memorized a technique or a working out from maybe like 1 month ago, and they come to this question, they will have no idea how to do it, because it will be a whole different question and a whole new technique. I hope you understand what I'm talking about. The second thing that I'm going to demystify for you is that if you're a parent or a student and you assume that just because the teacher in your child's school has a teaching degree, that they know how to teach your child, this is definitely not the case. Most teachers, they just teach the content, okay? They don't teach how to learn, all right? There's a huge difference in teaching content and how to learn, because I want you to answer now, what's going to be better for your child's life? Knowing something or knowing how to do something if they ever need to do it in the future? The latter, right? This is something I'm a huge advocate of. I don't just teach content, I teach them how to learn the content if I wasn't there, right? And that's why I don't like calling myself a teacher. I'm more of an advisor, more of a consultant that consults on students and parents, that teach them how to learn. And that's the difference. Teachers nowadays in school, it's like a 20-to-1 ratio in school. They're not going to give your child the attention that they deserve, and they're not going to be able to give personalized support to your child. So I want you to understand that, and I want you to remember that, because teaching someone how to learn will take your child miles ahead of a student who's just been taught the content. Now, the next thing I'm going to demystify, and this one's really important, is that you might be thinking that your child's predicted grades are the be-all and end-all. No, that's not the case. I got a 2 in my biology mock in GCSE, a 2, okay? For those of you that don't know, the grade goes 1 to 9. 1 being the absolute worst, and 9 being the absolute best. I got a grade 2, okay? And I ended up getting a grade 9 in my GCSE biology, okay? And that was in the space of 5 to 6 months, right? One thing to remember is that schools, if they're smart, they normally give mock papers which are harder than the actual GCSE paper. Because if it does to your child what it did to me, it got me very scared, all right? I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I've got a 2, my parents are going to kill me. Got me very scared, and I put my head down, right? That's number 1 about mock results. And number 2, if your child actually got a bad grade in their mocks, I want you to know 3 or 4 months of hard work and dedicated, focused work on a particular subject, your child can go up 2 or 3 grades. Okay, that's something really important to remember. Most of the work all GCSE students do are between the periods of February to the exam, which is May of year 11. Okay, nobody really does work in September unless you want to get ahead, which is something I preach to all of my families. All of the families that work with me are the families, the high achievers that want to get ahead of the syllabus, want to get ahead of their child's learning, and start with me in September. So by the time they even come to their mocks, flopping the mocks isn't even in the equation, because I've got the child so incredibly prepared that they're going to ace their mocks, and after the mocks, the only thing we're going to focus on is just strengthening those weaknesses. But the average children, the average families, what they'll do is September will come by, they'll be like, oh, the school will sort it out. The mocks will come, they'll flop it. A few months go by after, and then the parents start to see, oh my God, my child actually needs help. And then you start to get them some extra help in March. That's way too late. That's way too late. You can't expect your child to go from here to here in like March to May, it's not going to work. You need to be very prepared. You need to prepare early. This is why I preach to everyone. And this is why all of the families, and I say all of the families that have worked with me, have prepared very early and ended up getting extremely good results. The fourth thing I'm going to demystify is that parents think that hard work guarantees results. No, that's not the case. Smart work guarantees results, not hard work. If I'm doing 10 hours a day, reading through examples and reading through my maths textbook, I am not going to get anywhere. In fact, I'll probably go backwards, all right? But if I'm doing 10 hours a day, doing past paper questions, exam questions, and past papers in maths, I'm probably going to get a grade 8 or a 9. Now, obviously 10 hours is a stretch. No GCSE student, I wouldn't expect any GCSE student to do that kind of work. But I'm just saying you need to know which subject requires which type of revision. Okay, so for maths, the biggest thing is practice. The more practice you do of a certain type of question or a certain type of topic, the better you're going to get. But something like science, practice is very important, but you need to understand the content a lot more. Same with maths, you need to understand the content, but with science, it's a lot more application of knowledge. Okay, especially if we're talking about biology here. You can understand a certain concept and you can memorize a certain concept, but when it comes to an exam and they've written a whole new question and you need to identify the concept, but you don't know how to identify the concept, then you're going to struggle. Okay, so you need to identify for which subject, what type of revision you need to do. Now, as I come to the end of this video, I want you to understand everything that I've told you. So if you need to, just rewind and watch it all again, because these things that I've demystified for you, they will help your child threefold, fivefold, even tenfold. And if you want to go one step further and you are a high achieving parent and you want your child to be in that top 1%, I'm talking about getting grade 8s and 9s in GCSE maths, and I'm talking about getting high grade 9s, because I've helped families achieve and students achieve 90+% in GCSE maths, then please just book in a call with me below. I'll be glad to help you plan a strategy across year 10 and 11, whatever your child is, to help them get that top grade. But I want you to remember, I'm only taking serious parents who are ready to make the commitment. If you aren't ready to make the commitment, then please, it's better we don't waste each other's time. That being said, I'll see you in the next video and I look forward to potentially working with you and your family.